there was like 6 people there.
Oh, yeah, we did any shows.
And then it was just, I think I showed up with a wig. I want to say one of my other first gigs was we played outside of a Cuckoo's for Cinco de Mayo or something. And once again, 20 people.
Except for Baton Rouge.
Yeah, Baton Rouge was really the only city where it really caught on. That's where it was Jack Kelly's, the catering, the station.
That never made sense to me.
Bogies.
You played
Bogies,
we
wow.
live in New Orleans. You play in New Orleans, nothing. You go to Baton Rouge and it just blows up.
It's overkill.
But I'll tell you
And
what.
also, I'm sorry to interrupt, but then the 80s started to catch on around the country.
Mm-hmm.
Music stations started playing the songs again.
Because it was classic
so
rock.
people
now.
started to get into it more, and we were already in place, a machine, doing it like it was all habit. And so I think that really helped us because people started getting back into it, and we were already there.
Right, we were established already. We had.
Oh, that 80s band, yeah, they already had one, the Mollies.
Right, right, and like I said, it was really the early younger Tigerland clubs, Fred's, Bogies. The catering is not really a Tigerland club, but we sort of couldn't believe it because when we first started out here in Baton Rouge, the crowd was so young. I mean, I remember at that time I was in my early 20s, and they were younger than me. They were 18, 19 years old, and that's the whole crowd was 18, 19 years old, and it caught on like that for years. And then about 2 years later or so, when Dickie and Phil, actually Liam came in first.
Yeah.
Liam came in. It was Devin for about a year. Then I came in for about 2 years.
You
then
were in a
Liam,
year. I was in a year.
Then Liam came in a
after me.
year, and then these guys came in, and the whole length of the band was probably 14 years or something like that.
Hmm.
But this version of the band has been together 11.
How many versions
This
have you
version
had?
goes to 11.
Two. I mean, really.
Yeah, really. I'd say 3. I'd say the original 4 guys
With Trey and all that.
with Trey, and then
And then Benny, me, us three with Benny and Logan was 2. And then when
And
Logan
this-
and Benny left, we picked
So
these
really-
two guys up. That'd be three.
yeah, I would say 3.
Okay. So
I'd
you-
say 1.
Yeah, I think one sounds
They
good.
only remember one version.
Yeah.
Right around the time we took off, it was 20 years later. It was like the 90s, you know what I mean? It was like the end of the 90s, the year 2000, 2000. I joined in 01, I think, or end of 2000. And that was right around the 20-year mark of the 80s, and so that's when it was starting to blow up. And that's how it is always, I remember when I was in high school in the, in the 80s, the 60s were huge. Everything, it was like a 60s station back then. And then later on, after I graduated, there was a 70s, a big 70s station. Everybody played disco all day long. It was all the 70s stuff. Well, it was our turn. 80s was next, It's always 20 years.
Now they play the 80s and the Beatles.
But the 80s for some reason just stuck. It just stayed,
That's why I was saying, do you really consider the 80s like classic rock? Because nowadays everything is sampled.
Well, now,
especially
yeah.
in the 80s.
Music has changed now. In the last 15 years, it's
But it doesn't seem like the 90s bands, the bands that are playing the stuff in the 90s, which is now considered classic rock too. Those bands don't seem like they're catching on.
the longevity's not there.
Right. It doesn't seem like the audience is coming because of
No one wants to watch that happen.
right. It was built. That whole style of music was built out of sort of a depression, and I think that it's something that people probably want to forget. Whereas the 80s is something where everybody was having a good time. Reaganomics was in place.
It was
and,
big.
Right, and
good.
America, the states here was so bloated and living large that I think that everybody wants to remember those good
Right.
times.
It was a very good time. It was a time that really a lot of things exploded. Media, television exploded with the music, fashion. There were great trends. It was just a renaissance of sorts, especially coming out of the 60s and 70s. What with the wars and such, it was suddenly everyone started to feel good, spent money, and just lived huge, large.
We were the first generation that there wasn't a war going on. I think.
Phil's
In a long time.
still living large.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting, but I will say this, that just from a technological standpoint, people hung out in the 80s. It wasn't. We're so far removed with this that it's people don't relate to each other the way they used to in the 80s. Like when you wanted to play video games, you didn't play with some kid in Singapore. You called your friends over and you had fun, and then you went outside.
Or you went to an arcade.
It was video
Right, or you went to an arcade.
I spent a lot of time when I was a
Yeah,
kid in
video
arcades. Yeah. And
We used to go to, there was bowling alleys that had arcades.
Sure.
They all had arcades in them.
Putt Golf had a huge
Yes.
arcade.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
And they had Putt Golf.
I never played Putt Golf. I don't think ever there. I
Oh,
played
wow.
arcade almost once a week.
Used to try to launch the golf balls out into the street because it was right down.
Lord, that's
You
not
went to
nice.
Barnes. You went to
That's not
Barnes.
nice.
What do you want from me?
You don't get to be like this. Being nice. Okay.
Well, I mean, like when people went to rock concerts, like back in the 80s, when people would go to a rock concert, it was an experience.
It was an event.
It was an event. You remembered it. Now, only people care about is they don't care. They just want to hear the one song that they know, and they want to make sure that their iPhone has enough battery life to take a bunch of pictures.
Absolutely.
They want to tell everyone that they went to.
Right,
They don't
exactly.
actually want
It's
to experience
more about being there than actually experiencing it.
Right.
And I believe that there's I on a personal level believe that there is people don't have the kind of appreciation for the effort that goes into something as much as they did in the 80s. Because back in the 80s, you were either in a garage band or you were in a famous band.
Yeah.
There was no in between. Or at least that's my opinion.
But everyone tried to be big. That was
Yes.
what it
Oh,
was.
yeah, sure.
Everyone tried to display an image larger than they could afford.
That's
It
true.
was necessary.
The
just
technology
had to stand
wasn't
out.
right. The technology didn't exist,
Right.
so you had to spend tons of money
Oh, yeah.
to make it happen.
Oh, yeah.
And just to kind of piggyback on what you were saying with the concerts and stuff of the 80s. I mean, if a concert was there on a Friday night, say it was say it was the Scorpions playing New Orleans on a Friday night, you showed up at 3 o'clock and you tailgated to the guys, got on stage,
I did that.
and you knew who
Oh,
went to
yeah.
the concert on Monday morning because they all wore the T-shirt of the concert.
I still
that
have a
was
closet
at.
The next
full
day.
of Rush and
the
I
next
go to
day,
school.
yeah.
Everybody has a t-shirt.
Didn't wash it, didn't do anything. You put it on and you
Well,
went
that
to
was
school.
gold, my
You
clothes.
know?
I never
The last time we played Southport, I saw somebody tailgating. I really did.
throwing a frisbee, what?
Yeah, they were tailgating in the
We
parking
should
lot.
take advantage. We should do something.
Yeah, we should.
That's awesome.
We should tailgate.
No.
So we should sell
All right,
t-shirts.
let's go.
Earmark
Stand
this for
outside and sell
conversation.
t-shirts.
Okay.
Laziness.
You found a hat.
I found the hat.
Yeah, how'd you find a Devo hat?
The internet is a glorious thing, But no, I actually all of our costumes, all of our stage garb, I should say, are custom made. There's not something that you can just go out and buy. Everybody, we put a lot of time and effort into the way we look, and I don't know what's wrong with looking sexist.
Sexy, not sexist.
Sexy.
Sexy, not sexist.
Sorry. But anyway, so we put a lot of time and effort into our costumes, and we want to look good. And as far as the individuality of each person, I'm actually growing up, I wasn't a huge Devo fan. I was more of like a metal fan. I liked a lot of the heavier bands, but for somehow the best answer I can give you is I personally believe that we've all been through different costumes over the years. We've all been through different looks, but I would have to say that each one of us, our look chose us. Out of all of the different looks that we've each had, we gravitate back to one because it felt a certain way. It makes you feel confident in a certain way, and that's the best answer I can give, is that we didn't choose them; they chose us.
I wish a cooler costume would have chose me though.
Yeah.
Sweating my ass off. It's pretty
Well, you
awesome.
should always go back to
still got the
Madonna.
last one.
You can always go back to Madonna.
You did Madonna?
I could. It just never
You
quite.
did everybody.
I didn't quite nail it. I didn't quite nail it like I did this. Obviously nailed this. By the way, quick thank you to Cindy Choina, who was very, very big in putting together this look. So,
Yeah, thanks.
You need a new look.
yeah. Another thing, your look is becoming a problem.
Okay.
100%.
D. Snyder, Pee Wee, Karate Kid.
Adamant.
Oh, okay.
Jay.
You know what's kind of annoying me lately with this generation somehow trying to catch
Speak,
up. So
Pee Wee.
a lot of people are coming up and going, "Oh, I like the Doctor Who bit," and I want to slap the bastard.
The Doctor Who.
Doctor Who, because of the tie. I'm like, hello, really?
You don't look anything like Donald.
I
You should
know.
just start.
Like none of the Donald.
I will never do that.
None of the Donald.
I'm just saying.
He's got to draw the
Throwing
line
it out
somewhere.
there.
Yes, I do.
Who are you here with, darling? Are you
That one right
with
there.
Jay Sloan? Are you our boyfriend, girlfriend?
I have no idea where I got my costume from.
Right.
What's that?
What was
What?
that? What was that?
So I have no
What's
idea
that?
where I got
Excuse me?
Look,
Was that being disrespected?
I want to take a picture with you guys, man.
All right.
So I'm gonna follow y'all on Instagram. So how do I follow you guys?
Philip?
on Instagram? Philip,
What?
I want to
I
follow
saw
you on
Instagram.
Instagram.
Molly Ringwalds.
Molly Ringwalds.
Got it.
So you're gonna follow me back?
Yeah,
Give
absolutely.
one more.
All right.
One too. Before my camera dies. Okay.
So you should charge the iPhone before the concert.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Got it.
All right, man.
Hey man, this is great.
It was a
Thank you
pleasure
very
meeting
much.
y'all, man.
Right
I'm ready to
back
see
at
y'all
you.
play tonight, man.
Right back at you.
You guys, you
John,
guys
give
are
a
great.
Thank you, Kent.
You guys are great.
So it's
For
gonna be
real.
you.